Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. Yours at Mirror in about 6 minutes this morning. Alright, the team is here. For those who do not know, we've been talking about this team now 2 years, almost 18 months, yeah? The Out of Nigeria project. They want to go out of Nigeria on the motorbike. How fast is your heart beating?
I'd admit I'm nervous. Yes. Excited.
Tony, are you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth.
You are?
I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. Very.
But not nervous.
Good nervous.
Yeah, good nervous. Yeah.
Ralph?
Very nervous.
I'm Raf Goldberg. I make films and TV shows in England, but I also ride motorbikes. This is the story of how I was invited to combine both of my passions in what was to become the biggest challenge of my life. Toyin is a Nigerian entrepreneur and motorbike fanatic.
I'm a person who likes to be in an environment where I can control what happens to me and what happens around me as much as I can, which is why I've not lived anywhere else. I've had opportunities to move to other countries, but I want to be in a place where I can control, to a large extent, my life.
Fodex is an architect who always manages to stay positive.
Maybe I'm good at coming to grips with the reality of things and zone out that which I cannot control. It makes it easier for me to be able to not be on edge at all times because I don't find that being fun at all.
Toyin and Fodex are preparing to set off on a 30,000 kilometre motorbike ride across 30 countries in just 60 days. They'd seen so many American and European riders undertake long-distance trips, but hadn't heard of any Africans doing it.
We wanted to show the world something else in the world of overland adventure, something with Nigerians, and then we wanted to attach a meaning to that, which is why we called it Out of Nigeria. We wanted everybody to know we were riding out of Nigeria with a message of difference, with a message of hope, and hopefully get the opportunities to talk about our nation, our people, who we are.
The team's original plan was to ride west around the entire world, but they soon found that as a Nigerian, it's so difficult to get visas to most countries that it was actually impossible to gain all of the visas for their around-the-world trip. So a new plan was hatched, a journey from fire to ice. Lagos, Nigeria, to the Ice Hotel in the Arctic Circle.
And back again.
It's going to be bitterly cold, but I am looking forward to it. I'm already proud to be part of the group. It's an opportunity to be doing something rather than just sitting down at home and thinking that something should be done. We're actually doing something. And so, yeah, even though we've not been able to harness the total power of the program we had in the beginning, I still think we've got quite a story to tell.
I want to use this platform to show the world another side of Nigerians. We're smart, we're intelligent, we're adventurous, and we're normal, just like Europeans.
This is where I come in. Toyin and Fodex invited me to join them on their epic adventure to record everything that happens.
So we're currently putting all the stickers on the helmets. So we're just finding the right place. The Toyin's not doing a very good job.
I'm not blessed with patience like you. See that? I'm very patient, Ralph. Yes. Just not with stickers.
I'm trying to fix our communication equipment. Three-way radio, I guess.
You put the stickers on your helmet yet?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I promise to deliver this to my friend Raf. And so once I'm done, then I'll do mine.
We would be travelling without any support vehicles, but we did have a support team tracking our progress remotely. Irene, who works with Toyin, was supporting from Lagos, and Rahul, head of production for Out of Nigeria, would lead the London support team.
I'm just researching part of the Europe leg of the trip, now that it's all changed. Lots to do.
After a year of planning and preparation, the day of the launch event had finally arrived, which was the day before the trip was due to leave. Thanks to good friend Rohit, former Nigerian President General Obasanjo had honoured us by agreeing to be the patron of the trip and to be guest of honour at the launch event.
You are not doing this for yourself, but you are doing this for us here in Nigeria, for us in Africa. And if I may dare say, for us, all black race and humanity. Thank you.
Just one more restless night's sleep until the big day, day one of
Out of Nigeria!
Departure day had finally arrived, and there was a buzz of nervous tension in the air. We said our goodbyes to friends and family and headed into the Lagos traffic for the start of our adventure.
Bye!
But it wasn't long before we encountered our first crisis. A fuel shortage in Lagos had caused huge queues and angry-looking crowds at all the petrol stations.
There's a lot of angry people here.
With empty petrol tanks, we were worried that the trip would stall before it had even begun. Thankfully, Toyin managed to persuade a friendly driver to let us in front of him in the queue.
So I told him we're riding to Europe. He said, I wish I could come with you. Wow! So he took my number, took his, and he says, go ahead and buy the fuel. Get in front of me. Fuel scarcity has been part of Nigeria on and off for quite a bit, So, and I think it's because the fuel is still regulated by the federal government. The price is still controlled.
Before long, we hit what was to be the first of many border crossings.
Once we finish our documentation, we'll be crossing into Benin Republic and then from Benin Republic into Togo.
No words can describe how I feel about finally being on the road. I've promised myself to make a conscious effort to remember anything and enjoy every moment for itself. So, because it's an opportunity of a lifetime, really. I don't intend to spoil it by thinking of anything else other than the moment we're in.
Once inside Benin, we stopped at the small town of Ouida to cool down, but found something quite surprising.
Whoa!
Have you ever seen this many snakes?
Never. And I've never ever touched a snake. Never. The way the muscles move, it's like they have like 2 billion muscles.
Please, use it and take pictures.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But they were about to do more than just touch the snakes.
No problem. No less.
Leave yourself.
How does it feel?
It's cold, eerie, like
dryish,
and quite heavy for its size.
Yeah, okay.
It's beginning to choke me.
No, it's not.
No,
It's
not.
choking me.
No, it's not. No. It hasn't moved 1 inch.
Are you sure?
No,
Yes.
just
How come I'm choking on my own?
I'm sure.
on your own.
I'm sure. Leave yourself. You had this here now.
You look a bit worried.
I am worried.
Even I am worried. Wow.
I'm peeing myself almost, I think.
It's a religious establishment. At the center of their beliefs is the python, which everybody within that belief sort of hold in high esteem.
He said that the snakes are not just ordinary snakes. They're spirits.
Snakes are creepy though.
But the smiles soon faded as we learnt about Ouida's dark past. It was the centre of the slave trade in West Africa for many years.
This was a slave market right here. And it's almost so heartbreaking. I mean, I've never...
This area, they conquered a lot of other people and brought those people here to trade for things from the colonials. A bottle of whiskey would go for 10 slaves. What qualified you as a slave was you had to be strong, useful to the people who are buying you. So usually it was the fittest of the fittest that ended up here.
Across town on the beach was the gate of no return.
15 million people were taken away from Africa through this exit port. 15 million. From Nigeria, from Ghana, Liberia, Togo, Benin Republic. Now that doesn't include the people who were terminated because they were weak and because they were sick. The 15 million are the strong that made it to this point and left the continent. So probably only God knows how many didn't make it. Maybe another 5 million, we never can tell. Maybe 20 million people. Most of them were from Nigeria.
Since we had the large population.
Large population.
One, but that the people of our country were physically endowed at the time.
Stronger.
When you say strong,
they
were probably the most intelligent also.
You're right.
So there was serious brain drain, which somehow we have not let ourselves come out from. It's sad. It's sad.
After our sobering experience, we were back on the bikes and soon crossed the border into Togo, where we spent our first night on the road. Lomé, the capital of Togo, sits on a beautiful stretch of coastline, but we were keen to check out one of the strangest sights of the city, the fetish market. In West Africa, fetish means black magic or voodoo, and Togo is widely known as the voodoo capital of the world. This market is where people come to buy ingredients to make magic potions and charms.
Fetish market.
The guide assured us that all these animals were not killed for this market, but were found dead already. We weren't entirely convinced.
Armadillo in English.
Kills me, but I flow ill.
Bodex's mandibles. Overfed. First time I'm holding anything that has related to monkeys in my life. Many firsts.
Okay.
Some of the items in the market were also apparently for decorating your house.
Decoration.
No, thank you. My wife would think I've lost my mind.
You don't even want to hold it, do you?
No, thank you. It's a skeleton of a horse.
It's used for fetishes or charms or stuff to help athletes who need to go really fast, who need stamina. And that's what this is used for. Do they work? Codex?
Huh? To be honest, I guess if you believe strong enough.
I think,
the power of the mind.
The guide wouldn't allow us to leave the market without a visit to the shaman. Despite being put under pressure, we refused to buy any of his charms.
Yeah, you explained the whole origin of the whole thing. Like, Africans, because we didn't have medical doctors, people relied on all these fetish people and all the traditional healers for medication. And then it went into the spiritual also for protection. That's what it is, and it's still relevant today.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the shocking
thing. They've been believing it for God knows how
generations.
long. So really, it's become a part and parcel of their culture.
Not for me, though. I mean, this is not for me at all. I don't believe in fetish or voodoo things. Well, it's all good. We're here today, so we'll take it from here.
Off to Ghana.
That's right. Just a short ride down the coast lay Ghana. With another border crossing down, we had our sights firmly fixed on Accra, Ghana's capital city.
Look around the place and open your heart. You see the cries and feel the pain.
Everyone in Ghana was very friendly. If you gave a wave, you were guaranteed a wave in return.
With fear. Brothers feeling low, cause things don't look so bright. Hope tomorrow's better. Lord, I wanna be the one to make the change.
The sun was getting worryingly low, considering that there was still a long ride ahead before bed, so we only allowed ourselves a brief rest stop in the capital, Accra.
You look tired.
I am tired. But I mean, we can't rest on our oars now. We have to make it Takoradi, so we're just gonna refresh, get some food, and off we go.
Day 2 ended with a grueling 3-hour night ride, but we finally found our rest stop for the night just outside the city of Takoradi. Having arrived in the dark the previous night, we had no idea that we'd stayed in such a beautiful location.
We got in here last night, just before midnight, I think. Pushed, tired, fagged out completely. And we didn't even unload half the boxes still on the bikes. And didn't take any of my stuff in. Slept in the clothes I was riding in. I was knackered, clearly. Tony had a bit of a rough night. Yeah. Something he ate didn't agree well with him.
I thought it was the voodoo guys that got me. I mean, I was so scared. I won't lie to you, and then every second I was checking my temperature and I was wondering, and I was, yeah, but because the voodoo guy didn't look too happy yesterday.
He definitely wasn't happy.
Put a curse on you.
Yeah, but I mean, he
definitely wasn't happy.
Wasn't that curse,
he
man? Forget it.
Bent on
he just wanted to sell stuff.
His sales pitch.
Oh yeah.
After breakfast, the voodoo had worn off sufficiently for us to hit the road again. The reason we had to cover so many miles each day was because there was a fixed start date on Toyin and Fodex's 30-day Europe visas. This meant that we had to cover the remaining 6,000 kilometers to Spain in just 12 days. So no time to spare then. Still feeling ill, Toyin needed some food to keep his energy levels up. Roast plantain was the easiest and safest option.
My tummy is a little sensitive right now, but it's getting better.
When I look around, I see how far you brought me, Lord. You keep on blessing me. What did I do and make you love me so? 'Cause you make my world go round. Everything I need is you. I adore you. To me, and I lift my voice and say, yeah, I love you.
Despite some bad patches of road, we hit the Ghana-Ivory Coast border in good time. Unfortunately, there were some computer problems on the Ivorian side of the border, which cost us 3 precious hours. With the sun already setting and another 4 hours riding to Abidjan, we were now facing the prospect of another grueling night ride. At least there was a beautiful sunset to lift our spirits. Temporarily. But before we could reach Abidjan, we were forced to stop. This time, it was much worse than Toyin's stomach trouble. Fodex had developed severe toothache and was in a huge amount of pain. Bravely, he agreed to soldier on into Abidjan.
When the pain started, I couldn't see from one eye, I couldn't think, I couldn't do anything. It was terrible pain. I think we're going to look for a dentist tomorrow, and I will take it out. I don't want to ruin any bit of my Euro adventure. So we're going to take one for the team.
We will rest tomorrow. By the grace of God. If we don't, we're going to drug you, so you don't wake up until around 2 p.m. and not harass us to ride.
We were all looking forward to a rest day, but at the same time hoping that we could get Fodex's tooth fixed so that it wouldn't jeopardize the rest of the trip. The next morning at the dentist, there were immediate communication problems as our combined French was worse than the dentist's poor English. Fodex resorted to drawing a sketch of his tooth to explain the problem.
It turns out not to be that bad. I was actually thinking I was going to pull it. I just filled it in, did a bit of drilling, pulled out all the old filling that was there, we put in a new one. It was brief, like all dentist visits should be.
Once we'd fixed the tooth, it was time to fix the bikes. Well, just a few minor repairs before the next leg of the trip.
Although we had been having some problems with your brake lights, but yesterday Fodex discovered that it wasn't working at all, the brake lights, and that's not very safe, especially for riding at night. So all the little technical issues will be sorted out, and then we'll get the air filters, which are very helpful towards cooling the engine and all that. Because we went through a lot of mud and dust, they most likely are blocked now, so we'll get all those blown through, just so that more air can get into the engine.
Dry your tears, cry no more. I'm proud, for this king is so merciful.
There was a bolt that was broken, and to bring it out, they had to weld a tiny bit to the bolt that's broken and then unscrew it. They're just going to put a brand new one right through.
Worryingly, that evening, Fodex was still suffering with his tooth that we'd hoped had been fixed that morning. It didn't bode well for the prospects of resuming the trip the following day. The next morning, the pain in Fodex's tooth was too bad to resume the trip, so we headed to a second dentist to try to resolve the issue. As it stood, the trip was going nowhere and may have to be cancelled altogether.
The dentist we saw yesterday filled it, but still I've had no rest from the pain. It's awesome. It's really horrible. I really hate to have to turn back and go home, but the pain is unreal.
After seeing the second dentist, who prescribed Fodex painkillers and a 6-day course of antibiotics to combat the infection, he was still understandably worried.
If it doesn't get any better, there's a chance that I'd have to have the tooth pulled. The trick about pulling the tooth is that he wouldn't advise that I pull the tooth and get on the road. I would need to stay in town for at least 3 days. And we don't have that kind of time. Already we're cutting it very close. We took a rest day yesterday, which was not on the original schedule, so we're really going to be cutting it close. Bottom line, I don't have 3 days to rest.
We cautiously headed off northbound up the middle of the Ivory Coast in the direction of Mali. En route, we couldn't pass up the opportunity to visit one of the most impressive sites in the region, which could be seen for miles before you reach it.
You delivered me, promoted me, you brought me out and made my life.
The Basilica at Yamoussoukro is officially the largest church in the world.
Heard about the building long ago. I studied architecture in school. This building was part of the things we researched on. To be here in person now is just like dream come true. It's the highlight of my trip. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Maybe there's something else that'll be better than this, but for the time being, this is like the top of the pile.
As we headed north, the roads got progressively worse. so all of our attention was taken up by dodging potholes and overloaded trucks.
Everybody.
The beautiful scenery, however, more than compensated for our troubles. As night fell on day 5, we were grateful to have made it to the town of Boake, where we would rest for the night. The mission for day 6? Get to the border of Mali. Much needed rest stop, Toyin decided that the potholes have an unexpected benefit.
I like the roads because they keep you awake, you know. It's smooth, but not like tarmac smooth. But it's really fun, apart from the heat, you know, it's just punishing. If it was like towards evening and the sun wasn't this hard, it would have been a little better, but it's punishingly hot. Hold on a second, tell you what the degree is. Although my watch has a way of telling you degrees that actually make scary. It says 61 degrees. Is that
Degrees Celsius. Degrees
yes,
C.
Degrees C. I think we need to leave this place. These ants are like...
At our next rest stop, Fodex explains why him and Toyin are holding pens and sweets.
Raha's idea, right? I knew it. She packed a few things that we want to give out to kids as we go. Just token gifts, pens, a bit of sweets, and so on. And I think we're in the right place.
You have another reason to give God praise.
Oh, monsieur.
The Ivorian-Mali border at a town called Pogo. Too late to cross the border, we decided to stay in Pogo for the night.
The last 100 kilometers, for me personally, has been, I think, the best roads we've had on this trip. They were not smooth tarmac. That was not smooth tarmac. Smooth tarmac is boring after a while. It just gets dreary, you know. But the as you watch the trees change in color and in shape and in size, and you know, it fades from lush green to kind of jaded. It's so beautiful, and I think that's just the dream of any adventure biker. That road, the last 100 kilometers to Pogo, and then I really am looking forward to the ride into Bamako in Mali tomorrow. So tomorrow morning we'll be doing the 6th country.
But we weren't to know what would happen that night, which would have a significant effect on the trip.
The shooting at La Terrasse nightclub began in the early hours of the morning. Witnesses said hooded gunmen burst in and then opened fire.
Witnesses at the La Terrasse nightclub in Bamako in Mali say a man with a machine gun entered the venue around 1 a.m. Inside he fired indiscriminately at club patrons and according to one report, threw at least one hand grenade.
Mali's Prime Minister has condemned a deadly militant attack in the capital Bamako as an act of indiscriminate violence.
Al-Murabitoun, a jihadist group run by Algerian militant Mokhtar Belmokhtar, has already claimed responsibility for the assault. The group said it was to avenge one of its commanders killed by the French army in Mali in December.
It's raising fears that the capital could now become more of a target for militants.
This attack shows that peace in Mali is still a long way off.
When I woke up in the hotel, there was news on CNN about a shooting and some bombings in the capital. And there were 5 people dead, 2 foreigners and 3 Malians, and quite some people injured. We kind of were not very happy to talk about it because we're very, very worried about the whole situation and wondering, is there any way we could boycott it? But we have to just press into Bamako and hope for the best. You know, we're worried, especially for RAF being British and stuff, because it might be easy target. But we'll do this and see how it goes, and hope everything goes well. To tell you the truth, if we had an option, we won't go into Mali. But we don't have a choice, you know, because it's been iffy for quite a while. It's been, you know, like time bomb for a little while. And then we were riding into a time bomb. The truth is, it's worrying.
After what was thankfully a fairly routine border crossing, we made our way into Mali, which was far more rural than the countries we had crossed so far, but no less beautiful. Unfortunately, the poor roads and the unrelenting heat took their toll.
The heat is bad. It's medium cooked already, and we've done about half our trip. We still have another 3 hours or so before we're scheduled to arrive at Bamako. Everybody here is slightly different. For starters, the complexion is different. They're all darker, as we would call it back home. They look more northern. Yeah, there's a look to them that we kind of associate with the warmer climates.
Good mango. Delicious.
Wherever we stopped, we were always the centre of attention, and Mali was no exception.
Lord, I wanna be the one to make the change. I wanna go the place nobody wanna go. Could this be a higher calling? Black is black and white is white. How do you see?
As we approached Bamako, the news reports of the previous day's terror attacks were still ringing in our ears. We were praying that there wouldn't be any more trouble in the capital that night.
We arrived maybe about 6:30, which is kind of dark. That's later than we hoped initially, considering. But it turned out that there was not much, to worry about as such. But just to be on the safe side, we were taking off really early this morning, try and get the hard days riding in. Want to put as much distance between us and Bamako as possible. Get close to the border of Senegal. That should sort of take us out of the danger zone, so to speak.
The strong military presence in the city was a show of force from the government to prevent any further attacks. Nevertheless, we were relieved to be putting Bamako behind us and heading west towards Senegal. Progress was good across Mali. The only obstacles which slowed us down were cows, horses, donkeys, more cows, dogs, and did I mention cows? We were getting used to our celebrity status, and amassing a crowd whilst eating sweet corn was no big deal. However, Fodex found it funny that there was a bigger crowd around me and couldn't resist filming with his mobile phone.
Rob, I think the village has chosen for you. Sorry. Sorry, no comprehending that.
In western Mali, on the way to Senegal, the spooky baobab tree is king. Said to house evil spirits that need to be placated, we paid our respects with numerous drive-bys. We'd crossed our 6th border and we were safely inside Senegal, but we weren't out of trouble yet. We were hit with our first serious mechanical problem. So serious, in fact, that it could have dire consequences for the trip.
When we were leaving the hotel this morning, we realized that there was some oil stains on your rear wheel, so we knew something was wrong. And then by the time we checked, it looked like the transmission oil was leaking. We've been kind of conscious of that the whole day. So now that we've crossed into Senegal, we just wanted to quickly check it before we go on, because we're like 120 kilometers away from where we're spending the night. So we wanted to check that there's still oil going through the final drive so that it doesn't have friction issues and stuff. But there's still some oil in it. It was very low though, very, very low, because most of it has drained off. But we topped it up now, and then I think we're good to go until Dakar. I think, yeah, it should take us to Dakar.
We cautiously pushed on towards Dakar, very wide that if enough oil leaked out of my bike, the drive shaft could seize up, causing big problems and long delays to the trip. Day 10 began with an oil top-up on my bike again. We were keen to get to Dakar as quickly as possible and get the bike fixed before the problem got any worse. But there was also another reason why we had to get to Dakar in a hurry.
Raha called yesterday, said she's booked us a surprise at Dakar, and I think the instructions were to get into Dakar as early as possible so that we can meet up with that. So we're going to be really riding out today, not too many stops. Normally I hate surprises, but I mean, we're on a trip around the world almost. So, I mean, we might as well chuck in a surprise or two while we're at it.
See, I ain't never going nowhere, I am everlasting. See me like a movie, cause I'm forever casting. People wanna bring me down, but I will never fall out. Jesus is inside of me and he ain't never going out. People complaining when I tell them I'm a Christian. When I tell you about the Lord, you had better listen. Cause he's the greatest and he deserves the praises. I foresee this song being in everybody's playlist. Jesus Christ is in my soul and in my mind. So I don't really have a choice, man, I must shine. So if you know it, then believe it, cause it's your time, the right time, and we be ready for the most high. Cause I'm here to stay.
After a long, hard day's riding, we finally arrived in Dakar, just in time for our big surprise. A special performance by local percussion legends Africa Talibu.
Yeah, I really like the drums. In our own culture, we have slightly different types of drums, but by and large, it's very much the same sound.
The language they speak is different, and the music of every cultural rhythm is usually influenced by the language, by the culture. So it's a little different from ours, from what we're used to, but it's African. It's very, very African.
In Senegal, Senegal, they have a lot of ethnic. It's not only Senegalese only who live to that country. They have Guinean, they have Malian, they have Nigerian, they have Ivorian, they have Moroccan. Everybody is here, and we touch every culture to one ethnic. But we have our own stuff too. We call it sabar. Sabar, like for example, let me show you. Hey, Abisen, Esena. We call this chol. This is for Senegal. Now this guy gonna play some for your guys to see.
It wasn't long before talk turned to footballing rivalry.
You like Nigerians?
I like them, but they beat us sometimes, but now we beat them at the game.
The following morning in Dakar, I managed to find quite a unique place to get the oil leak on my bike fixed.
I'm here at the police bike repair shop inside a huge police HQ. Transmission fluid was leaking out the back, which could potentially be quite a big problem, so we need to get that sorted really before we get any further, because next country is Mauritania and after that's Morocco, so we don't really want to get into trouble in those sorts of countries. So Senegal's the best place to do it. These guys are the best people to do the job because they work with big police bikes all day every day, and hopefully we'll get it sorted soon.
It was either a bike graveyard or a veritable gold mine of used bike parts. Whatever your viewpoint, it was impossible not to be impressed by the functioning chaos of the place.
Looks like they've actually just replaced the whole of the back section of the drive shaft. They must have found another one they've assured me it's in very good condition and it's much quicker and easier than trying to fix the old one. So they just whipped it off, found a new one, popped it back on, and hopefully it'll keep me going for the rest of the trip. Fingers crossed.
While my bike was being fixed, we took the opportunity to see some of Dakar, led by our new translator, fixer and tour guide, the multi-talented Amico. Never one to waste an opportunity, Toyin also bought some souvenirs from the market.
We had gone through all the shops and then we came into this shop and Fodex heard him speaking Hausa. And that's a language that both of us speak and understand very well. So we started speaking the language with him. And he's from Niger. So when we just told him now that we rode from Lagos in Nigeria to this place on our bikes, and he's going nuts. He said he's never experienced anybody riding from that part of the world to this place. And I told him we're just in transit because we're going all the way to Mauritania, to Morocco, and then we're crossing into Europe. And he says he's never. That we've got to be nuts.
Over lunch, we had a chance to ask our new friend what she thought about our adventure.
I've never heard it before, like people coming from Nigeria, going all across different countries and to get to the north. I was really surprised, and like that kind of adventure, usually people from the north are doing it to the south, that everybody is used to it. African motorbike people, there's not that much. Even though in the famous race you don't see that much African people. So I think it's a really innovation way of pulling out and fighting like the discrimination.
That evening, Toyin and Fodex were interviewed by fellow Nigerian Gerald, who now works as a radio journalist in Senegal. Afterwards, he told me how he came to live here.
I used to play soccer, just like every Nigerian footballer. Your dream is to go play pro football outside the country. And so that was how I took an offer by a man I met by just talking on the phone. He said he was a soccer manager, and I was supposed to come to Senegal to stay just 1 week, then go to play pro soccer in Romania. And so that was how I spoke to him on the phone. I came to Senegal, gave him my money, and the rest was history. You face Senegalese, they say, oh, Nigerian, you're not serious. They're not serious, for work. So I had a 1 year, they call it preceptor contract, which is like a 1 year slavery contract whereby you just work and you don't have any conditions and stuff like that. It happens in Senegal a lot. They prefer to take a Senegalese than take a Nigerian.
But he did seem impressed with the out of Nigeria trip.
When you watch movies or documentaries, you say it's just white people, Till now we still say white people, that's what they do, crazy, they do that's their stuff, And I really, really am impressed.
It'd been another unscheduled rest day, but at least my bike was fixed, and we hoped there wouldn't be any more problems ahead. We had an easy 4-hour ride ahead to St. Louis in the north of Senegal, so that we could arrive at the infamous Rosso border crossing early the following morning to give us the best chance of reaching Nouakchott in Mauritania by nightfall. So we said our goodbyes to our new friends and pointed the bikes northwards. The only thing slowing us down between Dakar and St. Louis was a million speed bumps. St. Louis is a beautiful old colonial town in the north of Senegal with two main industries, tourism and fishing. Since the town has an old-fashioned feel, it seemed only fitting that we chose to see the sights on a horse and cart. 6 a.m. and still dark, but we were up and ready to go.
Well, we're going to Rosso, the border between Senegal from St. Louis into Mauritania. And because we heard of how notorious that border is, we want to get there early because we think it opens at 7 or 8.
Yeah,
so we want to try and get there early.
Another hour and a half. No, but I'll use it till all the time.
So that's what it is. We're leaving pretty early so that we'll be like among the first to get to the border so we can quickly cross into Mauritania and quickly get to our hotel in Nouakchott.
As soon as
look around the place and open your heart, you will see the cries and feel the pain. The silence all around is filled with fear.
Within a few hours, we had arrived at Rosso and began the process of stamping our passports out of Senegal. Once that was done, we had to cross over to the Mauritanian side of the river to get our visas to enter the country. However, we had heard rumours that Nigerians had had problems crossing into Mauritania, so tensions were high as we waited to board the ferry and cross the river. Once aboard the ferry, we were so nervous that Fodex didn't want to be filmed in case it jeopardised our chances of getting into Mauritania. Little did we know that we had bigger problems ahead.
We were surrounded by all sorts of people who were saying all sorts of negative things about Nigerians, that they were not allowing Nigerians and people from Guinea and Sierra Leone and Liberia into Mauritania to cross into Rosso. But we thought, or our assumption was, well, we have all the documentation. We have the Morocco visa, we have the Schengen visa, we have all our bike insurances, we have all our things all sorted out, so we shouldn't have a problem. And then we loaded ourselves, they had said, some guys had even suggested, why don't you leave your bikes here, take a boat across the river, the Senegal River, go to the Rosso Mauritania side and ask them, can we cross over and stuff like that. But we wanted to know, and we were convinced almost that, with all our documentation, we shouldn't have any problem. So we loaded the bikes and ourselves onto the boat, onto the ferry, and we crossed the river and got into Mauritania. Some official from the Mauritania side just walks up to us and collects all our passports, collects my passport, Fodex passport, and your passport, Raf, and walks away. So we said, everything was looking like, okay, maybe they're going to give us the visa. So he just goes there, and then they asked us to come to the window. And the guy says, he separates Raf's passport and says, Anglais, no problem, that, they will let him in, but that the two Nigerians have to go back into Senegal. And he had no reason. So after pushing him for a little while, he said, Ebola. His problem was, so it really doesn't matter whether Raf is coming from an Ebola clinic in Liberia and we are coming from London into Senegal. It really didn't matter. What mattered was that we had Nigerian passports. Personally, I feel it's wrong. And it was so bad, it was so devastating, because we're thinking, okay, what do we do? Should we ride back to St. Louis or ride back to Dakar and be wondering what to do and stuff? But whichever way, we have to find some way to get to Europe. I don't know how yet or whatever. We're going to work out something. What happened at the border we're not going to let it put us down.
The return back from Mauritania into Senegal, we were now treated like lepers. Nobody wanted to have anything to do with us. The guys who barely 30 minutes before had stamped us out of Senegal now had to be pampered and sweet talked and so on to give us the documentation that allows us back into Senegal.
And we were treated like fugitives, at Mauritania. We were treated like fugitives.
It's unreal.
To tell you the truth, I think this is something, I think Nigerians have come here and have been returned, but maybe I don't know why they don't want to talk about the fact that they were turned back from Mauritania. Nigerians are turned back from Mauritania, whether you fly in. And I think what happens is, the only way they will let you in is if you have a diplomatic passport. But if you have an ordinary Nigerian passport, the Mauritanians, as at today, the 14th of March, 2015, will not let you into their country. As a Nigerian, it's devastating. It's really, nothing has broke my heart on this journey like being turned back from Mauritania, nothing. Nothing has broke my heart ever. That I'm a Nigerian and I'm turned back from Mauritania, nothing has broke my heart even more. Nothing.
We're heading back towards St. Louis, which is where we slept over last night, and probably most likely head towards Dakar. Now we have our visas into Europe kicks off from tomorrow. So really, the biggest challenge now is how to get into Europe in as quick a time as possible so that we can still maximize the 30-day window in which we have to operate in there. For now, the program is to get back to Dakar for the time being. We're off to Dakar ports. Been given a set of options of ways to get ourselves and bikes off to maybe Morocco, but with the way things are looking now, we're likely to be exploring the straight to Spain options more likely. How hard is it? Just ride across the continent. I mean, really get on a bike and go, but it's proving not to be like that at all. And the effect of decisions taken by people who don't care much about us, it's kind of saddening.
Still reeling from the shock of yesterday's discrimination, we had spent the morning trying to work out how to get the bikes out of Senegal when I received an interesting phone call.
Yes, we're having problems, big problems with visas. Oh, wow, yes, that would be very, very helpful. Wow, so that was a friend of mine's friend who works for the Minister of Tourism of Mauritania, who thinks he can help us to get a visa for Mauritania. So give it a go, see what happens.
That night, back at our guest house, it now seemed that the country we chose to enter into Europe might also be an issue.
Friends who've spoken to online say that getting to Spain might be a challenge because the visas we have were issued by France. That's after the Spanish had initially denied us entry into Europe. So all the discussions we've had so far tend towards taking all our things straight to France first. When you start a trip, you sort of get into a groove. Having now to sit through this look for a plane, look for a ship process has ended up taking about 2 or 3 days. If you cap that off with the disappointment we had with being turned back from the Mauritanian borders, it's really been tough 2 or 3 days for me. I'm not enjoying myself at all. The show must go on. We have a mission. Compromises might need to be made, but we will make that trip.
Another day in Dakar with still no solution, and morale was at an all-time low. To make matters worse, the Minister of Tourism from Mauritania, who'd called me yesterday, had been able to secure Mauritania visas for us, but they wouldn't be ready for 2 weeks, rendering them completely useless. As time was ticking away on the 30-day Europe visas, we were under pressure to find a way out quickly.
It's been, to tell you the truth, some of the most miserable days of my life, because for the first time in my life, I felt trapped, if you know what I mean. I felt like we couldn't go forward and we couldn't go backwards. Myself started thawing today, actually, when we found out that we're making progress. We've had the shipping company come. They are going to bring a truck to pick up the bikes, take them to the airport, put them in crates, and ship them, fly them to France. So we will now get on the plane 2 days from now. Hopefully the bikes should leave on the same day that we leave for France. It's costing us an arm and a leg, but the only way we can continue with the OON project is to do this. And we are going to continue with the project, so.
And continue we did. First task, to comply with air freight regulations, the bikes had to be empty of all fluids. With the assistance of Seydou, the friendly police mechanic who fixed my bike a few days before, all the oil and petrol was successfully drained from the bikes, just in time for them to be loaded into a van and taken to the airport. Where they would be packed on a crate, ready to be loaded onto the aeroplane. All that remained was for us to buy the tickets for our own flights to Paris from the local travel agent. We weren't to know that such a simple task could raise an issue which would have a catastrophic effect on the remainder of the trip.
Well, we've just found out that even though our visas have 30-day period, there's actually a stipulation in it that gives us only 15 days to spend in Europe, which really is a bummer because the 30 days was already tight as it was. Having the schedule reduced to 15 days only puts quite a dent in the program that we're trying to achieve, you know. All the plans we've had, places we'd already scheduled to stop over, discussions, meetings and things. All of that we're going to have to do a change on. So we'll get to the hotel and see how that works out.
Still coming to terms with only having 2 weeks in Europe, we made the final arrangements with a customs agent at Dakar Airport. The agent had promised that the bikes would join us in France the following day. So there was nothing left but to say goodbye to our precious machines and board the plane for Paris. Once in Paris, we headed straight for our host Amandine's house to try to extend Toyin and Fodex's Schengen visas so we wouldn't have to cancel any of the planned Europe activities.
The problem is that African tourists don't exist in the French view of the world.
I like that. Well, we're meeting some. Hello, Europe, African tourists exist.
Despite all our efforts, and those of the support team in the UK, who gathered endorsements from European TV companies, radio stations and businesses we were due to visit, we eventually had to accept that there was no way to extend the Schengen visa. So that evening was spent working out what we could still fit in from the original schedule and which route around Europe to take to our final destination, the Ice Hotel in the Arctic Circle.
I think we try and save a day by getting to Baden-Württemberg Monday night.
So Hamburg to Copenhagen.
It's how long?
900.
900 and some, 1,000.
I'm getting tired just listening to Amandine break down the mileage.
So after a long evening's work, we had a new route and a new schedule for the next 14 days around Europe. Surely a cause for celebration.
With a new plan.
We're on our way to the airport. We're expecting our bikes in the country sometime during the course of the night. So we hope that we can clear them today, receive and clear if possible. This last week and a half or so have been really tough. So the prospect of getting back on the bike is really thrilling. We can't wait.
But we should have learnt by now that nothing on this trip is ever that simple.
They're still in Dakar, so they'll arrive in Paris tomorrow morning. Okay. And they'll definitely come tonight.
We've been standing here in the cold for like an hour and a half. We came with the fuel, we came with engine oil. We wanted to use to start the bikes and stuff, but we're going to walk back to the airport terminal in whatever degree. I think it's like 2 degrees or 3 degrees. I don't know what it is, but it's cold. Back to the airport with all this and get a cab. And it's freezing cold. Look at Fodex. He looks like a black snowman.
Today,
black Eskimo.
Anything you guys want to say about me today?
Let down again by the Dakar customs agents, we were told that due to a shipment of fresh oranges taking priority, the bikes would not arrive in Paris until Saturday night. As customs is closed on Sunday, it would be Monday before we had any chance of retrieving our bikes, leaving only 9 days on the Europe visas. As we were stuck in Paris while we waited for our bikes to be released from customs, Fodex and I decided to do some sightseeing, while Toyin caught up on some work.
When you call the Bishenka, tell them that even if we have to pay extra, we need to get those motorcycles today. We have to get those bikes today. Please, if we need to pay them extra money, we pay them extra money, but we want our motorcycles today. We've lost 6 days already. We're standing at the airport now. We're in front of the cargo shed, and we're going to wait here until we get the bikes.
Playing hardball didn't seem to be working with the French, but it was infuriating that the bikes were inside the warehouse, but we weren't able to get hold of them.
Only 2 documents, the registration of the motorcycle in Nigeria and the laissez-passer from Senegal. The agents in Dakar didn't do the right paperwork. They haven't filled in the right papers for the bikes to be imported into France. So the agent in France now has to go back to the agent in Dakar, get them to resubmit papers so that they can be imported.
After organising additional paperwork for French customs, which this time involved sending purchase receipts from Nigeria, we had no choice but to wait. And wait. And wait. Before finally accepting that we weren't getting the bikes for another day. The following day began with more waiting. And then, quite suddenly, and completely without warning, after 6 days waiting in Paris, the bikes were released from customs.
When I saw the bikes today, I almost started shedding tears. I was that close to tears. I had missed the bike so much, and I had just missed being on the road so badly. I just wanted to be on the road so badly. So seeing the bikes and handing the documents over to us and say, you guys can go, it was surreal. So I can't wait, dude. It's going to be a night ride today, but man, I can't wait.
And just like that, the trip was back on. With the sun already low in the sky, we headed east towards Germany, over the moon to finally be back on our bikes. When drawing up the new 6-day schedule for Europe, there was one invitation that we were not willing to cut, and it was the first destination on the list. Touratech is a German company who make and sell adventure motorbike equipment. We had been sent an exclusive invitation to be their special guests for the day, which had caused a lot of excitement. Once we'd arrived, we were given a tour around the impressive showroom.
I'm thinking we could move this to Nigeria, man, and plant it in my house.
The phrase, like kids in a candy store, has never been more appropriate.
Christmas come early. Himself.
You will now welcome to the new generation. Afro IC, Mr. T, yeah, J Beats, yeah.
We were given Touratech helmets.
It's here, it's right here.
Thank you, Touratech.
He is my
and warm clothing to keep out the cold.
Making me flow,
Rocks. Seriously.
And also got a chance to meet Mr. Touratech himself, founder and CEO Herbert Schwartz.
It's an honor to meet you, sir. Like a real, you don't understand.
For me, it's great to see people from Africa doing the same or having the same passion like we have here in Europe or in the other part of the world. And for me, I always try to go to Africa. I traveled, I think, 32 times to Africa, always on a motorcycle. I hope that I can go back to Nigeria in the very near future. No, but then next time we have to ride together in Nigeria.
Wow,
Maybe starting from Lagos.
It will be beautiful. Beautiful. We will be honored to ride with you.
Have you ever met adventure motorcyclists from Africa that have come to Europe?
That's very rare. You know, you have seen all the problems that you can get as an African in Europe. It's maybe the very beginning of something that growed in Europe or in the United States for the last 25, 30 years. But it's also coming to Africa. I've got friends in Uganda. They are riding, adventure riding. They have GSs, they have older adventure bikes, and they are riding around Africa right now. But in the future, I hope that they will also come to other parts of the world.
What do you think about the trip that they're doing?
I love the idea because I've been 32 times to Africa, always on my bike, and I've seen a lot of Africa. And I know Africa is the best continent in the whole world. It's the continent with the people where you can learn more than from all other people. And I like the idea that they want to go and see more of the world just to show what Nigerians are about. And I've been twice to Nigeria, and I know it's a beautiful country with great people, with friendly people. Yeah, and everyone should know that Nigeria is not terrorists, it's people, open-minded people. That's what I like about their trip.
Toyn and Fodex then rode their bikes into the Touratech workshop to get yet more gifts fitted.
I'm getting a top box. I am deliriously happy.
I'm having a pair of sexy fog lights fitted on my bike. You have no idea how excited I am about that because I love fog lights and I love Touratech fog lights. And they're not fitted by Mutiu or Taye back in Lagos, Nigeria with wires that are, like taped and stuff. They're done by someone who actually walks on bikes for Dakar Rally in Touratech, Germany. Do you want to know more?
Meanwhile, Fodex had some work to do on our new helmets.
I'm replacing the comsets in our helmets now that we've got the new and improved versions. More airy. Feels like there's air conditioning and high plasma TV thing going on inside there. So
Toyn Touratech.
Oh yeah, all branded.
Touratech
Toy.
Touratech.
Touratech. My name is Toyn Touratech Adebola. Touratech. Gladly, dude. Gladly Touratech, baby.
While the bikes were being worked on, we had another treat in store. A guided tour around the factory.
That's one clean world.
This is a serious business that was born out of a serious vision.
It's one thing to have a vision for something. So it's another thing to get people to feel what you're trying to do. And I think part of what makes Teratech is not just the man who started it and his vision, but being able to carry people along with him.
As soon as the bikes were ready and Fodex had been shown how to use his new top box, we were on the road again for another unmissable event, this time to Milan for an appearance on Italian TV and to meet Francesco, a great friend of the team. The snow-topped peaks of the Alps and deep blue lakes were beautiful in the early evening light before we found ourselves in the Gotthard Tunnel, which at 17 kilometres is one of the longest in the world.
Hey, we are here stranded at the castle waiting for the guys.
3 hours.
3 hours. Where are they?
Francesco and Davide had been waiting patiently to meet us just outside Milan. When we finally did meet them, we went straight to a huge bikers party. We hadn't realised that we were to be the guests of honour, and as such were instructed to bring our bikes right into the middle of the party.
This place is crazy. It's crazy, man.
After a quick tour of the event and the modified bikes on display, we were taken inside where the party was in full swing. We were bought drinks and introduced to hundreds of people, all desperate to shake us by the hand. Exhausted after such a long day of riding, we soon had to say our goodbyes and hit the streets of Milan for the short ride back to our host Francesco's apartment.
Right.
After a quick Italian breakfast and cappuccino with Francesco, we were back in the saddle as we didn't want to be late for an important meeting. We'd been invited to feature in an Italian motorbike TV series. Roberto is an Italian TV presenter who was very interested to hear more about the trip from Fodex.
We went from Côte d'Ivoire, went to Bamako, and then we turned left.
While Toyin was invited to take part in a special honour by the owner of the garage where we had met.
We're sticking up the Out of Nigeria sticker on this beautiful motorbike shop, Auto Splash, in Milan, Italy. And we'll be leaving Nigeria's footprints on this very beautiful shop, right on top of Metzela.
You got a crease.
I have a crease on a flat surface. Oh no, it's gone. Crease. No crease.
Next on the agenda, Out of Nigeria's Italian TV debut.
Tanti europei fanno il grande viaggio del sogno dall'Europa fino all'Africa, magari arrivando giù fino a Cape Town, ma io non ho mai visto degli africani che fanno il contrario con le loro moto, con le loro targhe, ed è il caso di Toyin e Fodex che con Raf, che in questo momento ci sta filmando, stanno facendo questo viaggio incredibile dalla Nigeria fino a Capo Nord.
With the interview out of the way, we pointed our bikes northwards, retracing our route from the previous night with a small detour to the beautiful Lake Como. pushed on that night as long as we could manage, and at 1 a.m. finally succumbed to fatigue and slept in a hotel in Germany. The following morning, we awoke to find that we'd made it around a quarter of the way up Germany the previous night. The problem was that if we were to achieve the goal of the entire trip and make it to the ice hotel in the Arctic Circle, then we had to travel 1,500 kilometres to Stockholm and catch a train the following afternoon. That's nearly 17 hours riding. Needless to say, we were keen to push on. At least there's no speed limit on the Autobahn in Germany. Although we were pressed for time, we couldn't miss out on an opportunity to spread our message on German radio.
But I think you are the first African people doing such a motorcycle trip from Africa to Europe, is it right?
And in a popular Dutch motorcycle magazine, before jumping back on the bikes. Only now it was raining, and it would continue to rain long into the night. Unfortunately, my camera broke, so there's no footage of the long, wet, cold and miserable ride that we endured that night. Fortunately though, we've simulated the experience to give you an idea of what it was like. We arrived on the small island of Fehmarn at 1 a.m, having missed the last ferry to Denmark, so we had no choice but to stay on the island for the night and catch the first ferry in the morning. But I was worried that this would have drastic consequences for the mission.
It's been easily the hardest days riding of the trip so far, and one of the hardest days of my life, I think. I mean, most of the riding today has been in the cold and the rain at night time on the Autobahn in Germany. At some points, I was even worried that one of us might not even survive the day. It's been dangerous, you couldn't see a thing. It's been freezing cold, we were exhausted. It's now about 1 o'clock in the morning. We're stuck in some strange hotel on this little island just in the north of Germany, and we've missed the ferry. So we're not going to make it to Copenhagen tonight, which basically means there's no way we can get to Stockholm by tomorrow at 5 to catch our train to the ice hotel. So it's just dawned on me that we've basically failed on our mission to get to the Arctic. The guys' visas run out. They're going to have to get home. We're not going to have made it. And it just feels so painful that, you know, we've all been through so much to get to this point. We've overcome so many obstacles, and it's just been tough, and we've just kept going with this one goal, and now we're not gonna get there.
After a crisis meeting on the phone with Rahar in London, we found a possible way that the mission could be salvaged. Up before the crack of dawn, and the rain was still pouring, but nothing was going to dampen our spirits as we were on a mission to complete our mission. We boarded the ferry to Denmark, knowing that if we could get to Copenhagen, find somewhere safe to leave the bikes, and catch the Stockholm train at 11 a.m, then we could catch our night train from Stockholm to the Arctic Circle, complete the mission, and return to Stockholm in time for Toyn and Fodex to fly out and satisfy the conditions of their Europe visas. It would be tight, but it was possible. With minutes to spare before our train departed, we made it to Copenhagen, parked the bikes, and boarded the train. What a relief.
The last 24 hours were the defining moment of this ride. In less than 24 hours, the decisions on which route to ride, when to take the ferry, when to abandon riding, when to take the train, just so that we're on this train. All that happened in 24 hours. That's a result of hardworking minds. The fact remains that we are on our way to the Ice Hotel. I mean, people ask you questions like, why do you do this? I mean, you have a comfortable life. You could spend the money on your children. You could, do other things. But everybody in the world thinks like that. Very few people think differently. And I want to be among the few people who think differently, who pursue things that are not necessarily comfortable. There are so many firsts that we recorded on this journey that we shared experiences with people. Thousands of people all over the world are reading about our experiences and they're like, wow, this is amazing. I want to live this life. Maybe in a month from now, in a year from now, 10 years from now, somebody else will follow in our footsteps to say, I want to follow my heart's desires and I want to make the sacrifices to make it happen. We will have achieved our objectives. Absolutely.
After a surprisingly comfortable night's sleep, we were excitedly waiting for our stop, the small mining town of Kiruna in the far north of Sweden, well inside the Arctic Circle.
Ready?
Yeah, as ready as I can be.
As we left the train, Toyn and Fodex had their first experience of real snow. When it's -5 degrees C, a late taxi can be a serious problem. Thankfully, our taxi did finally arrive, with apologies. Believe it or not, it got stuck in the snow. Before long, we'd arrived and were taken down to the ice hotel itself.
You'll be fine. It's only -5 in there.
After a year of planning, 18 countries crossed in 28 days, we had completed our mission and made it to the ice hotel in the Arctic Circle. What a feeling.
This is awesome.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
Alex.
I can feel your hand,
Welcome.
brother.
You can. What are you called?
And the toilet seats ice.
They're not ice.
Yeah, that was the only fear I had.
We were told that the ice hotel is created from scratch at the start of every winter before melting away each spring. And that all the ice used to make the hotel is pulled straight from the river behind, which is why it's so clear and clean. We were also shown where we'd be sleeping that night.
And I will explain everything you need to know for tonight.
And how to survive the experience.
As just sleep, there's the thermal undergarments, socks, as well as something on your head to keep it warm. Because most of your body heat comes out through your head. And then it's the time to open up the sleeping bag. So like that. And do it as fast as possible so that the warm air is still inside.
Having finally made it to the finish line and completed our mission, Toyn and Fodex were still letting it all sink in.
I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be here.
The opportunity to be here is something I will continue to cherish for a long time. The impressions, how it feels. It's surreal. It's really impressive architecture, even though it's iced. And it's freezing cold, yes, but I'm really glad and grateful that I was able to make this trip.
I don't think there's anything more fitting, seriously. I think this is just the climax. And all the pain and all the sacrifice and all the rush and all the riding in the rain for long, hard hours, especially the last night on the road, we did 9 hours of riding in the rain just to get to the ferry, to get to Copenhagen, and then to get to Stockholm and to get here. The rush was surreal, but it was worth every single minute. and every single ounce of pain.
Ultimately, this is the point where we wanted to be. And being here makes all that worthwhile.
But it wasn't over yet. We may not have been able to ride our bikes in the snow, but we had the next best thing, snowmobiles. The tour was briefly interrupted to allow us to fill up on hot drinks, reindeer sandwiches and moose soup.
How was the ride over?
It's fun. Kind of difficult to get used to the controls at first.
How does it compare to the GS?
No, not quite in the same category.
Then back on our new machines and into the snow. Eventually, our time had come. We couldn't delay any longer. It was time to make our way to our ice room for the night.
No point chickening out now, right?
Is it cold?
Yes, it is. It's cold, really. But it's warm in the bag, really.
With some trepidation, we buried deep into our sleeping bags and hoped for the best. The morning arrived and we had survived the night in temperatures that fell as low as -8 degrees C.
It was nice, cold but nice. It was this strange, it's one of those strange things, you know, like you've thought about it, how it's going to feel, what it's going to be like, but to actually experience it was cool.
It was just a very surreal experience, you know. I don't like the cold. I've never liked the cold. When you know that you have to go through something, there's a way your mind adjusts. And from somewhere, the power to see yourself through just comes. I mean, it just showed me that when your mind is determined to do something, your whole body adjusts. So it's been surreal.
With heavy hearts, we said goodbye to the Arctic Circle and boarded the overnight train back to Stockholm. For we knew that Toyn and Fodex's Europe visas would expire the next day, and so they had to fly back to Africa.
Even from 10,000 dreams away.
With Toyn and Fodex on their way back to Africa, it was left to me, as I had a British passport so no Europe visa issues, to get the bikes to Ghana. Rahul came over to help, and we recruited 2 friends in Sweden to help as well. Unfortunately, the Easter holidays got in the way.
So the bikes have been stuck in this car park essentially in Copenhagen for the last week due to the long Easter weekend. We haven't been able to organise getting the bikes out of the car park and shipped over to Africa. Hopefully now Easter's finished, I can figure something out.
Meanwhile, Fodex and Toyn were getting dangerously bored.
This is our 8th day in Accra while we're waiting for Raf and the bikes. I have basically just sat down and watched our hairs grow and count time. Not been easy. It's like the hardest thing for me to do, just wait.
Once Easter was finished in Copenhagen, it was all systems go. After waiting for over 2 weeks, the bikes finally arrived in Accra. We couldn't wait to get back on the road.
You happy to see your baby again?
Yeah, very.
Just prepping the bikes for this ride is almost therapeutic, after this very long wait. So I am really looking forward to being on the road, really, really.
And once we'd satisfied the Ghanaian customs bureaucrats, it happened. We were back in Lagos at the hotel where we had set off nearly 50 days ago.
It's been a very fulfilling and a very humbling experience for me. And we have had obstacles from the first day we rode out of this hotel. We were fighting with everything we had, but it was like 50-50. Can we make it? Because we knew just one slip, because of how tight our visas were, just one slip. All we needed to do was miss a ferry or miss one connecting train, and that was it. The goal was gone. Until the day we got to the Artic Circle. We even slept with an eye closed the day we got there, because we knew if we missed the train out, we would overshoot our visa, and that would have been a very long-term problem for us.
There were a lot of challenges, but the number of good people we met, people who are willing to go out of their ways to help us for absolutely no reason, we would never forget this experience for a long time.
We're telling an honest story, an honest Nigerian, an honest African story, an honest story of adventurers, of teamwork, of the possibility that anything that you dream can happen.